And when I cracked that code, things just gangbusters. I'd never made so much money. It was like it was amazing. And when I look back on that, I think, wow, that was such a good decision.
This is Matt, an Airbnb superhost who earned a seven-figure income. He knows how to hustle in the world of vacation rentals. Just imagine, at his peak, he owned a whopping 11 properties all across beautiful Toronto, Canada. And guess what? I got him right here on the show. Get ready because Matt is about to spill all his secret tips and juicy nugget on how to succeed like a boss on Airbnb. Buckle up, folks. This is gonna be one wild ride. What is your challenge when you first start out?
My challenge, this one's easy because I was a pretty big F-bomb, was pricing. The way I priced my listing way back when, 8 years ago, I looked at what hotels were charging, I looked around my house, and I was like, my place is way better than a hotel. And I set a price and I left it. And from my pricing workshop, that is wrong, wrong, wrong on so many accounts. The same price, never changing it, setting it off of hotels, wrong. And then, so after a few weeks of vacancy and a few months of lower than expected, I went crazy trying to figure out, what do you do? How do you price properly on Airbnb? And when I cracked that code, Mike, like, things just gangbusters. I'd never made so much money. It was like, it was amazing. And when I look back on that, I think, wow, that was such a good decision.
Yes, I know. It's make a good decision with the properties that I earn right now. This year to June, 100K.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. I should start doing revenue share with my students.
I mean, it's not bragging of it like that, but the thing is, like, it's motivate you to become a super host. I mean, what a wonderful gift that you can share your space to somebody else, come to your home and then live there and experience like the unique way. Every house unique. So
Oh yeah, yeah. And the Airbnb adage is live like a local. And people, quite frankly, are getting sick of hotels. They're smaller spaces, there's no kitchen, so if you want to make breakfast or even cook meals, although most of my guests don't really cook meals because there's so many amazing restaurants around the corner, but breakfast is a nice thing, you're on vacation, do you want to spend an hour and a half eating breakfast? Nah, just grab a bagel, a coffee out the door and start exploring. So for sure, yeah. And rates, Mike, rates this year are gangbusters. They're better than before the pandemic. This whole summer has blown me away. I'm like,
yeah,
what?
yeah,
We're getting booked at that? That's insane.
yeah. I think 2022 is really low month, low year, but 2023 is getting way better. So I just can't wait 2024 gonna be live, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. 2022, depending on the market you were in, yeah, there was some corrections happening. It was a much more dominant return to travel after the pandemic, and people weren't sure what they wanted, where they were going. There was a lot of pent-up international demand, but now things are becoming expensive, which is kind of a good thing for us, but it is increasing domestic travel spend. Which is fantastic. And there's still international travelers. There's still tons, like flights. I have many friends who work in the airline industry, and the planes are all full. So if you aren't getting booked this summer season, it's not because the market is slow. It's because there's something else wrong.
You now teaching 100 Airbnb hosts. What's the most common mistake hosts make?
So yeah, you're right. I've taught north of 700 students through my various programs, and the biggest mistake that I see, there's a couple, but the biggest one is not really understanding what drives bookings on Airbnb. How do you get top visibility on the site? So that's the biggest thing is hosts don't understand that. The second biggest thing is pricing and balancing your price between sort of three factors. the market demand, your occupancy, um, and the prevailing price of the listings around you, and how to position yourself in there. And then the third thing I think would be honestly a lack of systems and automations. So that, like, when I was running 11 listings, I might have spent 30 minutes a day on them, maybe on average. I mean, some days were certainly a couple hours, other days were absolutely nothing. And so to get to that point where it is almost passive income, it's about the systems, it's about your price, and it's about being visible on Airbnb and maintaining that visibility, that high search ranking, so that when a guest goes to Airbnb, they see your listing on the first page. So it's one of the first ones they see. And so those are really the three big areas that hosts are challenged with. And when they don't hit at least pricing and visibility, they often kind of just start to what's the word I'm looking for? They start to disengage. And then perhaps they're hearing this economic news, and then we're losing so many great hosts.
What do you think about the future of the short-term rental market?
I think the future for Airbnbs is very, very positive, very optimistic. I think that there still is tons of opportunity out there, so we have a bright future. What the pandemic did is it gave Airbnb hosts the best gift we could have ever asked for. And I know a lot of people are going to disagree with me on that, so hear me out. No one wanted to go to a hotel during the pandemic. They wanted to travel, but they didn't want to be squished in with other travelers from around the world, because that was what we were not supposed to do. We needed to social distance. There's a word I haven't said in a long time.
Yeah, social distance.
And boxing into a little elevator to go up to your hotel room that's like right next door to someone else from some other place that you don't know their background was not ideal. And so millions of guests turn to Airbnb because most Airbnbs are standalone. We have a ton of cabins on Airbnb, cottages, remote places, things like that. And what that did is it basically forced a whole bunch of travelers that would have never tried Airbnb before, because they were like, I don't want to stay in someone else's house, I don't want all this, I don't whatever. And they all tried it and they loved it. And so that is going to give us a leg up over the hotels for the next forever, probably, because we both know staying in an Airbnb is way more advantageous than a hotel. So I think that's going to be going for us, is that we got a whole bunch of new guests who would have never tried us otherwise to go in, try us, and they like us. I think the future of travel, I'm always watching travel trends. I'm a huge aviation geek, and so I watch airline orders for new planes, like how many new planes are being ordered. And the indicators in that field are ridiculous. The biggest order for new planes ever was placed about 3 months ago by Air India. The US carriers are all ordering new planes. Like, that whole industry is on fire. And if the airlines are willing to buy a $200 million plane and buy like 20 of them at $40 billion, then I think they know something that we perhaps don't know. And that is that the demand for travel is going to stay high. Now, I want to offer one caveat. So Airbnb has exploded in many places around the world, and particularly in many places in the United States. And some markets are seeing an oversaturation, i.e. there are too many Airbnbs and not enough guests. And that's okay. Over time, we'll see that market balance itself out again. Some hosts will come out. The really good hosts will stay in. And I want the hosts who are watching that maybe are operating in an oversaturated market, I want them to know that you can still make money there. It's all about visibility, pricing, and automation. And if you get that right, because there are still guests traveling to these highly saturated markets, when you get that right, you can have a highly booked calendar with good occupancy. It's just a matter of nailing those three things.
And also get the review. I mean, the review always.
Well, the
Yeah.
reviews will follow. If you get those three things right, you don't
Mhm.
have to worry about reviews. I rarely, this is embarrassing for me to admit, I rarely look at my reviews because I know what they're going to be. And when I do look, they are what I expect them to be. Um, it's when you get it nailed, it is truly amazing. And it's not that I'm not paying attention, it's just that I know we're doing a good job and our guests are enjoying their stay. And that's really what I want. Because when they have a great stay, they leave us a great review. That helps with our visibility. Not the whole thing, but certainly helpful. And it makes me feel warm and fuzzy inside that we've got, hundreds of guests this year coming to Toronto and are going to enjoy their stay.
Now let's dive into the employee. How do you start to hire your first cleaners?
So hiring cleaners can be challenging for sure. There are some key traits that I look for. I want someone who is coachable. I want someone who is communicative, and I want someone who knows how to use technology. And you may have noticed that the first thing I said wasn't that they knew how to clean. I can teach them how to clean. In fact, I've taught lots of people how to clean and lots of people how to teach their cleaners how to clean. That part is easier. It's really the communication, the ability to be coached, and their use of technology. Because we use technology a lot as Airbnb hosts.
Yeah, we use system a lot, and also I even print out all the, like Matt teach me, print out all the binders. I want my stuff exactly like this pictures. If it's not, what happened?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. Training your cleaners, you heard me say it when we were working together. Training is not one and done when it comes for cleaners. They are a member of your team, they're one of the most important members of your team, and managing them doesn't have to be hard if you have sort of a standard operating procedure to follow. And you share that with your cleaners, and you can manage the performance against those standard procedures. And it gets a lot easier for sure.
This is not all his tip and trick. If you want to watch a full episode, click the video right here.